All right, there it is. So girls, yesterday we started talking about the simple present, right? And we were saying that we have various ways of using it. We can use it in affirmative sentences when I'm saying yes. We can use it in negative sentences when I'm saying no. And I can, of course, use it to ask a question. So I believe yesterday we saw affirmative and we saw negative. So today, let's go ahead and continue with questions. Let me go ahead and share our presentation. Here we are. So we were saying, whenever we have a present verb, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it exactly as it is, in its regular, normal form. The only times I change it is if my subject is a he, a she, or an it. And in those cases, what I do is I'm going to add an S at the end. If my verb happens to end with a vowel, for instance here, go ends with an O. So what I do is, instead of just adding the S, I'm going to add ES. Because if I did this, if I just went like, why? If I just went like this, that looks weird and I don't like it. So that's just not what we're gonna do. That's not how it works. So we were saying if the verb happens to have a consonant at the end, then it's not necessary to add ES. I can just add S at the end. So we were saying, for instance, I would say we play, and I would also say he plays with the S at the end. Now, this doesn't happen for negative, for the negative version of the verb. For the negative version of the verb, it is not necessary that I add an S at the end.
En la mesita hay una tutsi.
I'm gonna go ahead and mute. So, si yo estoy hablando de negativos, chicos, ya no voy a considerar necesario agregar la S al final del verbo. ¿Por qué? Porque la forma en que yo agrego mi S es que la agrego a través de mi verbo auxiliar. En este caso, does o doesn't. En este caso, porque es negativo. So, if I want to say no, I'm not saying yes, I'm saying no. If I want to say a negative for whatever action I choose, the only thing I have to do is add the word don't. I'm going to add the word don't for I, you, we, and they. So for the same subjects where I would leave my verb the same, I'm going to add don't. Fíjense que la separación se queda igual. Yo respeto mis dos categorías de sujetos, por así decirlo. Los que en donde yo dejo el verbo exactamente igual y no le pongo nada y no lo cambio y se queda tal cual, son I, you, we, and they. Y esos mismos son los que respeto a la hora de poner el don't. Entonces, esa categoría se queda exactamente igual a la hora de los negativos. Para esta categoría, lo que voy a hacer es agregar el don't antes de la acción. So if the verb is play, then this would look like I don't play. If the verb was run, this would look like we don't run. Y así para absolutamente cualquier verbo, el que sea. So we said that this is my category number 1. Esta es mi categoría 1. Mi categoría 2 es esta de acá, he, she, it. Y decíamos que a esta otra mitad, por así decirlo, es a la que le vamos a agregar la S. Esto solo aplica para oraciones afirmativas. No aplica para negativos y no aplica para preguntas. Entonces, si yo estoy dejando mi verbo exactamente igual y no le estoy agregando la S, ¿cómo voy a diferenciar entre mi categoría 1 y mi categoría 2? Pues a esta le voy a agregar la S, pero aquí. en mi verbo auxiliar. So instead of saying don't, I'm going to say doesn't. And my verb is going to stay exactly the same. Para los negativos, mi verbo se queda exactamente igual. No importa si yo uso you, they, she, he, whatever. El verbo se queda igual y lo que cambio es aquí. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say he doesn't run. Don't make the mistake of saying he doesn't runs. Eso sí, nunca lo vamos a hacer y es un error muy común, ¿sale? Que no se nos vaya. Si yo ya puse el doesn't, ya no necesito poner la S aquí al final. Same for she, same for he, for it. She plays, well, she doesn't play volleyball. Or it doesn't work. Let's say that I'm talking about a computer. It doesn't work. No funciona. So I can use it for any of these, but remember that it is not necessary to change my verb. It stays exactly the same. So that's for the negatives. Questions, you guys, about how we form the negatives? Nope. Super clear?
No.
Okay, beautiful.
Super clear.
So the last matter that we need to check is the questions. So how do I ask questions? It's very, very simple because we already saw it. So we're going to do this. Hagan de cuenta que es exactamente igual a lo que vimos del verbo have. Exactamente igual. Solo que en lugar de have, yo le puedo poner cualquier verbo, el que yo quiera. So how does this work? The first thing is I need to add my auxiliary verb. Do or does. If I'm going to use do, I'm only going to use do for I, you, we, and they. Se fijan que siempre son como las mismas dos grandes separaciones de los sujetos que uso. Siempre es I, you, we, they, I, you, we, they. So for those four, I'm going to use do. Next, I'm going to follow with whatever subject I want. ¿A quién le estoy haciendo la pregunta o sobre quién estoy haciendo la pregunta? ¿Sobre ti? ¿Sobre nosotros? ¿Sobre ellos? ¿Sobre mí? Y dependiendo de sobre quién haga la pregunta, aquí yo selecciono mi sujeto. Simple as that. Next, I'm going to use my verb. Whatever verb I want. Aquí yo puedo poner el verbo que yo quiera. No hay reglas, no hay diferentes reglas para diferentes verbos. Siempre de los siempre se sigue la misma estructura. Y aquí yo puedo poner play, run, swim, sleep, eat, whatever. Any verb you want. And the verb is going to stay in its basic form. Aquí también, igual que en los negativos, mi verbo se va a quedar igual. Se va a quedar en su forma básica. No le voy a poner ese, no le voy a poner nada. Así tal cual. And then, once I have asked the question, I can go ahead and answer it. And the answers are exactly the same as we saw for have. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Yo voy a responder, chicos, con el verbo auxiliar, es decir, el do. No voy a responder con mi verbo principal. Si yo les pregunto, do you play soccer? Ustedes no me van a decir, yes, I play. Me van a decir, yes, I do. Si yo les pregunto, do you run in the morning? No me van a decir, yes, I run. Aunque el verbo sea diferente, la respuesta se queda igual, yes, I do. Always. Yes, I do, or no, I don't. Or, yes, we do, no, we don't. Yes, they do, no, they don't. Depending on the question you asked. So let's see. Let's go ahead and see if we can get some new questions. Lupita, can you give us an example of a question using do?
Do she work in the morning.
Okay, does she work in the morning? Now, here's something important. I'm only going to use do.
Does.
Yes, I'm only going to use do for I, you, we, or they. So if the question has a she, instead of saying she, I'm going to say does. Instead of saying do, I'm going to say does. So does she work in the morning? Good. Now, Corina, can you give us another example of a question using do?
Yes. Do you have brothers?
Do you have brothers? Wonderful. Do you have brothers? Maria Luisa, can you give us another example using do?
Do you
Take your time.
do you have got children?
Okay. Do you have children? Wonderful. You corrected yourself right on time. Good job. Do you have children? Good. So for any question, I can also ask about we. Do we speak French? Or I can also ask about myself. Do I like my job? A lo mejor si yo me estoy cuestionando algo a mí misma, porque uno piensa, ¿cuándo me haría yo una pregunta a mí misma? Cuando yo sola me estoy cuestionando. Do I like my job? Sí me gusta mi trabajo. I'm thinking to myself. Do you have brothers? Do we speak French? Do they speak? Well, do they run in the morning? I don't know. Any verb that you want. And the only thing we change is the subject. La estructura es exactamente igual. Lo único que yo cambio es mi sujeto, sobre quién estoy haciendo la pregunta, y el resto de la oración, el predicado. Pero siempre empiezo con do, sujeto, verbo. Siempre. And then, of course, depending on the person I'm asking the question about, the answer is going to change. La respuesta, chicos, va a variar de a quién o sobre quién estoy haciendo la pregunta. Por ejemplo, si yo les pregunto, do we speak French? Y ustedes me contestan, yes, I do. Is that okay?
No.
No. How should it be?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we
Yes, we
do.
do.
Exactly. Yes, we do. If I ask you guys, do they run in the morning?
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. Good. If I ask you guys a question about myself, do I have lipstick on my teeth? Do I have lipstick on my teeth?
No,
Yes,
you don't.
No, you don't. No, you don't. ¿Y por qué aquí contesto you? Porque yo les estoy preguntando sobre mí y ustedes me están contestando a mí, ¿cierto? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So that's for questions. Now, as Lupita gave us an example earlier, if I'm using, instead of I, you, we, they, if I'm using he, she, it, then instead of using do, I'm going to use does. Does, and then the exact same structure. Se queda exactamente igual. Verbo auxiliar, sujeto, verbo principal. Y mi verbo no cambia. La única diferencia es que como aquí cambió mi sujeto a he, she, it, voy a usar does. No do, does. Lo demás se queda igual. So, the example that I have here is, does she play soccer? Ahorita Lupita nos dio otro. Let's see, Ángeles, can you give us another one? An example of a question using does.
Does she Have a car?
Does she have a car? Wonderful. Does she have a car? Nancy, another one?
Does he play video games?
Does he play video games? Excellent. Does it work? Does it work? Me están vendiendo un celular viejo. Does it work? Y si funciona. Funciona. Does it work? And then the way that I answer, again, I'm going to answer with my auxiliary verb, not with my main verb. So I'm not going to say, does she have a car? Yes, she has. What do I say? Does she have a car? Yes.
She does.
does.
He does.
And what if she has no car? What if the answer is no?
No, she doesn't.
No, she
She
doesn't.
doesn't.
No, she doesn't. Exactly. That's it. That's all I have to do. Does he play video games?
Yes, he does.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he does. And what if he doesn't like video games?
No, he doesn't.
No, he
No,
doesn't. That's it. That's all I'm going to do for every single question and for every single answer. For he, for she, and for it. So that's pretty much all there is to the present simple. Si se les hace muy familiar es porque es exactamente igual que lo que vimos para have. Igualito. Solo que ahora en lugar de have, yo puedo usar el verbo que yo quiera. Pero lo demás es exactamente igual. So, how do you guys feel about doing a couple of exercises? Should we? Alberto, what do you think? He finds it very funny. So we're going to go ahead and practice. We're going to turn to page 35. And we're going to do a couple of practice exercise for our simple present. Let's see. Here is page 35. Page 35. And the first one is fairly simple. Let's see. Marisol, can you help us with the instructions, please? Right here.
Yes, choose the correct answer.
Okay, simple instruction. I'm going to have two options to complete my sentence. 1, 2. So out of those two options that I have, which option is the correct one? Is it play or is it plays? Is it do or is it does? Etc. So pretty simple. Let's give it 1 or 2 minutes and then you guys let me know when you're ready and we'll go ahead and check.
Finish.
Fantastic. Thank you, Galia. How's everybody else doing? Ready?
Ready.
Ready. Fantastic. So I already have number 1. I already have my first sentence. They
Miss?
speak English. Corina, yes.
Sorry, what exercise is it?
Which one?
Is page 35?
35. Yes.
What exercise?
Oh, which exercise?
Which number?
It's number 6.
Thank you.
Number 6.
Es que no abría el libro. Gracias.
Ah, that's okay. That's okay. No worries. Thank you, Karina. Alrighty. So number 1, I play or plays soccer. Galia,
Play.
I play. Wonderful. What if I wanted to transform this into a question? Galia, how would I
Do I-
transform this into a question?
Do I play soccer?
Do I play soccer? Fantastic. And what about a negative?
Don't I play soccer?
Don't
No,
I
así, no, sí, así.
don't I play soccer like this?
No, dos.
Does I play soccer?
Sí.
Do you guys
Yes.
agree?
No.
No. So there's a
Oh.
little error here. What should it be, Yadira?
No, I don't.
No, I don't. Or you could just say, I don't play soccer. No, I don't play
Okay.
soccer, right?
Okay.
So remember, don't always goes after the subject. El único caso en el que el sujeto va después es en las preguntas. ¿Sale? Alrighty, so I have that I play soccer. Now let's look at the next one. Number 3. Jorge, can you help us with number 3, please? Oh, your mic. Okay, never mind then. Alberto, can you help us with number 3?
Yes, we do our homework on the weekend.
We do our homework on the weekend. That's perfect. Alberto, what if I want to change this into a negative? Aquí estoy
We don't.
diciendo que sí
Ah,
hago
okay.
mi tarea. Oh,
Okay.
¿cómo digo que no? You were saying we don't?
We don't our homework on the weekend.
We don't our homework on the weekend.
Or we do not.
We do not. Sure. But I'm missing something. Aquí me falta algo. ¿Qué me falta? What am I missing?
Us.
Nope. Something else. ¿Qué me falta aquí, chicos? We don't our homework.
The verb. Question mark.
Verbo.
Yes.
Question
So,
mark.
well, this is the negative. This is not the question. This is the negative. So what am I missing?
Ah,
I'm
sí, sí,
missing
sí.
the verb. Porque el don't, chicos, es para el no. Pero yo aquí tengo un verbo, el do. We don't do our homework on the weekend. ¿Ok? No
Yes.
importa si el verbo principal es do. No lo voy a quitar. Porque el don't, te hace cuenta que no existe. Solo está ahí para decir que no. So we would say we don't do our homework on the weekend. And then what if I want to change this into a question? Let's see, Maria Luisa. We do our homework on the weekend. How do I make it into a question?
Do we do our homework on the weekend?
Yes, it sounds funny. Suena chistoso. Do we do? Pero es correcto. Do we do our homework on the weekend? Y es lo que decíamos antes, chicos. Fíjense que la oración es exactamente igual. We do our homework on the weekend. ¿Cuál es la única diferencia? Que yo le agregué un do al principio y le puse mi signo de interrogación. Pero por lo demás, todo se queda igual, right? Okay, number 4. Marisol, she at home.
She eats at home.
She eats at home. Fantastic. Now, if I wanted to do this in the negative, how would I write it?
She doesn't eat at home.
Fantastic. She doesn't eat at home.
Eat.
Good. Now, what if I want to turn it into a question?
Does she eat at home?
Fantastic. Does she eat at home? That's perfect. Now, thank you, Marisol. Now for number 5. Nancy, number 5. They something in the city.
In the city.
Oh, sorry, you cut off. Te cortaste.
They like in the city.
Okay, they live.
They,
Okay, so this is a funny word. I'm glad I'm actually you mentioned it. So we have live or live. Esta palabra de aquí, chicos, se escribe siempre así, pero tiene dos significados. Y dependiendo de cuál significado estén diciendo, se pronuncia diferente, pero siempre se escribe igual. I know, English is weird. So, number 1, live, vivir. Number 2, live, en vivo. Siempre se escribe así, pero dependiendo de si yo estoy hablando del verbo vivir, como estoy viva, vivo en esta casa, vivo en X colonia, live. So in this case, it would be they live in the city. Si yo me refiero a algo que está en vivo, como música en vivo, un programa de televisión en vivo, ahí se escribe exactamente igual, pero lo voy a pronunciar live. So there's a comedy show that's very famous, Saturday Night Live. ¿Le suena? Saturday Night Live. Y en ese caso es live porque es en vivo, no es Saturday Night Live. Pero siempre se escribe igual, L-I-V-E. So just, you know, a fun word for you for the future. English is weird. Okay, so they live in the city. Thank you so much, Nancy. Now, if I wanted to change this into a negative, how would I say it?
They don't live in the city.
In the city. They don't live in the city.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, wonderful. And what about a question? How do I make this a question?
Do they live in the city?
Do they live in the city? That's okay. It's okay. It's practice. It's practice. You'll get the hang of it. So yes, that's perfect. They don't live in the city, or do they live in the city? Good job. And then last one, last but not least, Lupita. She something at a university.
Teacher, I can open my book. Which are the options?
Oh, okay.
Studies.
Studies. Wonderful.
Studies.
She studies at a university. Perfect. So notice how, ya lo habíamos mencionado antes, pero fíjense que si el verbo termina en Y, yo lo voy a cambiar a I latina. Y sigo el resto de la regla, que es que si termina en vocal, le agrego E y S. Por eso cambié study a studies. Eso lo voy a hacer siempre. She studies at a university. Now, if I want to make it into a negative, how do I do that?
She doesn't study at the university.
Fantastic. She doesn't study at a university. And what about the question?
Does she study at the university?
Perfection. Well done. Excellent. So that's it for our sentences. Now, we're going to do another exercise, one more exercise. And in this case, we're going to complete an entire paragraph. So this is Jack, this little blonde kid, blue-eyed kid is Jack. And he is telling us a little bit about his family. So you guys are going to take the verb that the paragraph is giving you here and use the correct form of the simple present. ¿Qué vamos a hacer? Dependiendo de quién esté hablando Jack, quién es el sujeto de mi oración, yo voy a tomar mi verbo, que aquí está en su forma básica, y voy a aplicar la forma que corresponda, ya sea dejarlo igual o agregarle la S al final o ES según aplique, depending on the subject. So let's take a couple minutes to complete our paragraph using these verbs that we have here. And then we'll see what Jack says about his family. You guys let me know when you're ready.
I have finished.
Wow, Karina, like a lightning bolt. Good. Let's give it a little bit longer to make sure that everybody has it, and then we'll go ahead and check. Okay, kiddos, how do we feel? Are we ready or not yet?
I'm finished. Teacher,
Yes, Lupita.
cuando la palabra termina en CH, se le agrega también ES.
Yes. So for instance, what happens if you did this? How do you pronounce that? Teaches.
Teach-
Teaches. Right? So if I do this, teaches, and that sounds better, right? So
Okay,
yes,
thanks.
thank you for making it known. Aquí no termina en vocal, pero igual le agrego el LS para que suene mejor. So yes. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and check. Let's go ahead and check our blog entry about Jack's family. So everybody go ahead and give me your answer. I'm going to read it, and then you guys tell me what you have. So Jack says, I live with my family in New York. My father what?
Works.
Works. Fantastic. Why are we using works?
Because he's
He's-
he.
he.
It's a he. Exactly. I'm talking about my father. That is in the third person, and it's a he. So yes, well done. My father works at home, and my mother
Teaches.
Teaches.
teaches. Y esto es lo que nos decía Lupita. ¿Por qué aquí, aquí también le pongo la E? Sí le voy a poner la E, aunque no termine en vocal, porque si yo hago esto, teaches. So it's hard to pronounce. Teaches, it's much better. My mother teaches at the local school. They
Work.
They work. Fantastic. They work very hard. My brother Chris is 19. What does he do?
He goes.
He goes to college in Boston. He what?
Studies.
Study.
He studies Spanish and Chinese. He
Speaks.
speaks. Fantastic. He speaks very good Spanish, and he
Watches.
watches, just like in teaches. Just like in teaches, I'm also going to add es to make it easier to pronounce. He watches movies in Chinese. We
You.
Do.
We do my Spanish homework together. He's great. Awesome job. Alrighty. So now let's practice our questions. We've practiced the sentences, we've practiced affirmatives, we've practiced negatives. Let's practice a little bit of the questions. So this exercise is on page 37. 37, and we're going to practice questions in the simple present. Page 37, exercise 7. So let's see, what do we have to do? Bruno, can you help us with the instructions, please? Choose.
Choose, do, or just.
Fantastic. So for each question, you're going to tell me, am I going to use do or am I going to use does? That's it. So let's give it a minute, and then let me know when you have them so we can go ahead and check.
Finish.
Awesome. Okay, let's give it like 30 more seconds to make sure that everybody's done, and then we'll go ahead and check. Alrighty, how are we feeling? Good? Ready to check?
Yes.
Awesome, fantastic. I'm going to start with, well, I already have my first question, which says, do you play tennis? So let's continue with number 2. Fatima, do you want to help us with number 2?
Do?
What do you play? Good. What do you play? Do you play tennis? Maybe he doesn't play tennis, so what do you play? Good. Now for number 3, Marisol.
Does your best friend take dance classes?
Fantastic. Perfectly done. Corina, number 4.
Who do you live with?
Excellent. Who do you live with? Yadira, number 5.
Where does your family live?
Where does your family live? And then finally, Alberto, number 6.
Does your family play music?
Good. Excellent. This is a tricky one. This is a tricky one. Esta de aquí. ¿Por qué a lo mejor yo me podría confundir? Porque uno piensa familia y dicen, bueno, pues es plural, ¿no? Son ellos. Pero es en realidad singular porque es tu familia, una familia. Sí, una familia tiene muchos miembros, pero yo lo trato como singular porque es una familia. So in this case, does is absolutely correct, right? And
Si
looks like...
Si a esa pregunta número 6 le damos un pronombre a family, ¿cuál pronombre sería?
It.
Porque estamos comenzando. ¿Cuál pronombre le corresponde a does?
Es
Si
un
vamos
it.
a. Sí, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Sí, eso supuse.
Sí, efectivamente. Es una cosa. Bueno, es un sustantivo. Es una cosa. No es una persona. So sería un it. Does it play music? Yes. Bien, bien pensado. Yes. You're welcome. Okay, so here's another thing that I want you to notice. Do these questions look the same as all the questions we've been practicing? Estas preguntas se ven igualitas que las que hemos estado practicando, ¿no les ven como algo un poquito diferente?
Que
usan las
utilizan
question words.
Exactly. So as you guys can see, if I'm going to ask a question that has a question word, the question word always takes precedence. Siempre van a ir mis question words primero. Entonces, si yo estoy haciendo una pregunta sobre una acción a secas, ¿tú juegas soccer? Do you play? ¿Tú comes chocolate cuando estás triste? Do you eat chocolate when you're sad? I don't know. Do you like cold weather? ¿Te gusta el clima frío? Te estoy preguntando sobre una acción. ¿Te gusta, juegas, comes? Pero si yo estoy hablando sobre dónde ocurre una acción, cuándo ocurre una acción, qué es la acción, entonces mis question words toman prioridad y siempre van a ir primero. Siempre van a ir primero en la pregunta, antes que el do, antes que el does. ¿Sale? No voy a decir do who you live with. No. Who do you live with? No voy a decir does where your family live. Where does your family live? Entonces, como regla general, si yo voy a hacer una pregunta usando una question word, prácticamente siempre va a ir primero, right? So, as you guys can see, I can also combine them. Yo puedo combinar perfectamente una pregunta en presente con una question word. Who do you live with? ¿Con quién vives? Y si se fijan, es igual. El quién va antes que el verbo. Con quién y luego ya el vives, ¿cierto? Who do you live with? Where does your family live with? ¿Dónde vive tu familia? Primero el dónde y luego la acción, el vive, right? So I can combine my question words with my simple present questions and it's perfectly fine, okay? Alrighty. So, before we continue, there is something that we need to add to our vocabulary. And this is called an adverb of frequency. So for instance, if I have a word like that is asking me how often, a question that is asking me how often, then I'm going to start using my adverbs of frequency. So let me go ahead and explain what it is that I'm saying. So the question would be, let me put it here so we don't forget. How often do you, for instance, cuando yo estoy hablando de preguntas, puede ser que yo te pregunte si haces algo. Do you play soccer? Do you like movies? Do you read books? Do you run very fast? Y yo les pregunto nada más si hacen algo. ¿Lo haces o no lo haces? ¿Sí o no? Pero puede ser que lo que yo quiera saber es qué tan seguido lo haces. So you do you run in the mornings? How often do you run in the mornings? ¿Qué tan seguido? ¿Corres en las mañanas? Sí. ¿Qué tan seguido? ¿Te gustan las películas? Sí. ¿Qué tan seguido vas al cine? ¿Te gusta el helado? Sí. ¿Qué tan seguido comes helado? ¿Qué tan seguido? How often? How often? So when you see a question that asks you how often you do something, we're going to use something that is called adverbs of frequency. Tanto si yo estoy contestando una pregunta de qué tan seguido hago algo, como si yo simplemente estoy hablando de mi rutina, yo puedo usar adverbios, es decir, palabras que indiquen la frecuencia de algo. Si se acuerdan, cuando ustedes me contaban de su rutina, era como su rutina diaria, pero igual y hay cosas que no hacen todos los días. A lo mejor no todos los días van a clase de inglés, los fines de semana, ¿no? A lo mejor no todos los días se duermen a las 10, algunos días se duermen a la 1 de la mañana. A lo mejor no todos los días desayunan, un día se les va la onda. Entonces, ¿qué pasa? Que si yo quiero ser un poquito más específica, es cuando empiezo a usar estos adverbios de frecuencia, tanto para contestar un qué tan seguido, como para yo ser más específica con respecto a mis rutinas y a lo que yo hago. So, the adverbs of frequency, from most often to least often, I'm going to start with always. Always means I'm going to do things 100% of the time. Always. Siempre. Siempre. 100% del tiempo. Let's go ahead and practice. Always.
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 Yes. So I also have the next best thing. Let's say that I'm doing something not 100% of the time. Maybe I'm doing it, oh boy, what an ugly number. Hang on. Maybe I'm doing it 90% of the time. So I would say usually. Usually.
Usually.
Not
Usually.
always, but usually. Usualmente.
Usually.
Right? Y esta
Usually.
S de aquí la voy a pronunciar como un sh. No voy a decir usually, voy a decir usually. Right?
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead
Usually.
Go ahead and repeat usually.
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 Yes.
Usually.
Excellent. So I could say something that I always do. I always brush my teeth at night. Always. Every single day. But I don't always have breakfast. I usually have breakfast, but not every single day. Usualmente, o casi siempre, podrían verlo así, usualmente desayuno. No siempre, usualmente, porque hay días que de plano me levanto muy tarde, me da flojera, etc. Usually. Now, next to usually, let's say that this is like a 75%. A 75%. So this is going to be often. Si la pregunta es, ¿qué tan seguido? How often? ¿Qué será often?
Seguido.
Frecuente.
Seguido, exactamente. ¿Con qué frecuencia? ¿Qué tan seguido? Entonces, often es seguido o con frecuencia, frecuentemente. Esta palabra, chicos, si ustedes se quieren ver muy propios, pueden decirla así tal cual, often. Pero, ya lo habíamos discutido antes, les encanta tragarse letras en el inglés. Entonces, van a escuchar muy seguido que lo pronuncien como si no existiera la T. Y entonces sería algo como often. Go ahead and repeat. Often. Often. Yes. So if I do something often, it means that I do it more than average, but not always, not even most of the time. For instance, I often make coffee in the morning. Con frecuencia hago café en la mañana. Ni siquiera usualmente, porque no es de que se me vaya la onda 1 o 2 veces. Digamos que lo hago 3 veces a la semana, 3 de 5. So, con frecuencia, pero no usualmente. No puedo contar con eso, pero sí lo hago mucho. So, about 75% of the time. After often, let's say we are at a 50%. And when I do something 50% of the time, sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't do it. I'm going to use this word right here, which is sometimes. Algunas veces. A veces. So for instance, sometimes I exercise in the morning. A veces hago ejercicio en la mañana. Digamos que un día sí y un día no. O menos. A veces, una vez a la semana, se me ocurre. Empiezo el lunes con toda la energía y hago ejercicio en la mañana y nunca más lo hago. A veces. And then, after sometimes, let's go ahead and repeat. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Wonderful. And then, if I don't do anything at all, 0% of the time, I say never. Nunca. So I never, what is something that I never do? I never drink tequila. I don't know. Nunca tomo tequila. I don't like it. So something that I never do. 0% del tiempo. Jamás. Nunca de los nuncas. Never. So let's go ahead and repeat. Never.
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 Never. So
Never.
of course, never is the polar opposite of always. Always, 100% sí. Never, 0% sí. O 100% no, si lo quieren ver así. Now, where am I going to put my adverbs of frequency? Adverbs of frequency go before the main verb. Usually. Usualmente, los adverbios de frecuencia van a ir antes de mi verbo principal. Y digo usualmente porque no es un siempre. Usually. Porque hay una excepción. El verbo be. Si yo voy a usar un adverbio de frecuencia para el verbo be, lo voy a poner después del verbo. Aquí tenemos un ejemplo en esta oración de aquí. I always leave home early. Aquí leave es mi verbo principal. Siempre salgo de mi casa temprano. Entonces, aquí está mi verbo y aquí está mi adverbio. Antes. I always leave. No voy a decir I leave always. Pero tengo mi excepción en el verbo be. Entonces, fíjense aquí. I am never late for school. Aquí está mi verbo. Antes del adverbio de frecuencia. Entonces, para todos los verbos, excepto el verbo be, mi adverbio siempre va antes. Nada más para el verbo be va a ir después. So, let's go ahead and practice. Let's see if we can get a few sentences on the board before it's time to go. So, let me get started. I am usually hungry by 8 a.m. I am usually, so verb, adverb, be, adverb. I am usually. I never drink tea. Never drink. Adverb, verb. Right? Corina?
Miss, ¿por qué al usar la hora utiliza el by en lugar del at? ¿Por qué se utiliza así?
Ah, porque estoy diciendo algo diferente. Si yo utilizara el at, estaría diciendo, usualmente tengo hambre a las 8. Si uso el
Ok.
by, estoy diciendo para las 8. Normalmente tengo hambre para las 8. Es la diferencia entre decir a las 8 me da hambre, a las 8 en punto me da hambre, versus a lo mejor me da hambre a las 6, a lo mejor me da hambre a las 7, pero definitivamente para cuando ya son las 8, ya tengo hambre.
¿O es como por ahí de las 8?
No, es un para. Por ejemplo,
Ok.
by the time I'm 20, well, I'm 29. By the time I'm 30, I will have another dog. Para cuando tenga 30, o sea, estoy hablando como de un límite. Para cuando llegue a este límite, va a pasar esta cosa. Entonces, para cuando
Gracias.
den las 8, ya tengo hambre, right?
Ok. Gracias.
You're welcome. Okay, so here's a couple of examples. Let's get a few more. Alberto, can you give us an example using one of these frequency adverbs?
Yes, I'm usually exercise from Monday to Friday.
From Monday to Friday. So in this case, I would eliminate the am. Acuérdate que exercise es un verbo. Entonces aquí me pusiste, soy, usualmente me ejercito. Entonces aquí le puedo quitar esto.
Okay.
Usualmente me ejercito, right?
Okay.
I usually exercise from Monday to Friday. Okay, wonderful. Yadira, another one.
I sometimes read book.
I sometimes read books or read a book. Perfect, fantastic. Let's see, Maria Luisa, one more.
I always run in the evening.
In the evening, okay, perfect. Excellent. Lupita, one more.
I often run in the morning.
I often run in the morning.
I like fun.
Yes, fantastic. That's fine. Nancy, last one.
I always eat in the home.
I always eat at home para ahorrar because the inflation is crazy, you guys. Excellent job. So that's how we're going to use our adverbs. And tomorrow I'm going to have you write about your routine again, except this time we're going to start practicing those frequency adverbs. Ya me contaron ustedes de su rutina. El día de mañana vamos a otra vez hablar de nuestras rutinas, pero a lo mejor en lugar de hablar de lo que hago todos los días, cosas que hago a veces, cosas que no hago nunca, cosas que hago siempre, etc. So, do we have any questions, you guys, about the simple present, how we say it in the negative, how we ask questions, or about frequency adverbs? Any questions at all that we have?
No.
No.
Nope. Fantastic. So in that case, we're going to leave it here for today. Because I don't think we have time for another exercise. So I'm gonna let you go. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I will see you all tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Have a good night.